What's up, guys? It's Cassie and Sara, and today we're talking about the mysterious legend of the Bell Witch.
So if you like hearing about murder stories and all things spooky, make sure you hit that subscribe button and keep on watching. The Bell Witch, or the Bell Witch haunting, is a legend from southern United States folklore, centered on the 19th century Bell family of northwest Robertson County, Tennessee. Farmer John Bell Sr. resided with his family along the Red River in an area currently near the town of Adams. According to legend, from 1817 to 1821, his family in the local area came under attack by a mostly invisible entity that was able to speak, affect the physical environment, and shapeshift. Some accounts record the spirit also to have been clairvoyant and capable of crossing long distances with superhuman speed and or of being in more than one place at a time. This is some
Ghost.
Invisible entity.
Shapeshift.
Shapeshift.
So you just see a little doggy running around. A ghost. Just keep in mind that it says that it can cross long distances.
Yeah, because
That'll be interesting later.
in 1894, newspaper editor Martin V. Ingram published his authenticated history of the Bell Witch. The book is widely regarded as the first full-length record of the legend and a primary source for subsequent treatments. The individuals recorded in the work were known historical personalities. In modern times, some skeptics have regarded Ingram's effort as a work of historical fiction or fraud. Other researchers consider Ingram's work a folklore study and an accurate reflection of belief in the region during the 19th century. In his book, he wrote that the poltergeist's name was Kate, after the entity claimed at one point to be old Kate Bates, witch, and continued to respond favorably to the name. The physical activity centered on the Bell's youngest daughter, Betsy, and her father, and Kate expressed particular displeasure when Betsy became engaged to a local named Joshua Gardner. The haunting began sometime in 1817 when John Bell witnessed the apparition of a strange creature resembling a dog. Bell fired at the animal, but it disappeared. John's son, Drew Bell, approached an unknown bird perched on a fence that flew off and was of extraordinary size. The daughter, Betsy, observed a girl in a green dress swinging from the limb of an oak tree.
When I first heard that, all I can picture is like this girl like holding on like this and just going wee 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 like just straight like this. I don't know.
I was
why.
Not going like this, but just like,
Wait, what do they mean swinging?
just like holding on the tree and just going like back and forth, like.
But that's like weird. Like, which is probably supposed to be, but.
Their servant, Dean, reported being followed by a large black dog on evenings he visited his wife. Activity moved to the Bell household with knocking heard along the door and walls. The family heard sounds of gnawing on the beds, invisible dogs fighting, and chains along the floor.
Gnawing on the beds, I just think of like a little kid going.
About this time, John Bell began experiencing paralysis in his mouth. The phenomena grew in intensity as sheets were pulled from beds when the children slept. Soon the entity pulled hair and scratched the children, with particular emphasis on Betty, who was slapped, pinched, and stuck with pins.
That makes me think of The Conjuring.
Yeah!
Where like Bathsheba was like, you know, like same
She's
idea.
like, you look good.
Yeah. So I feel like this story is very, not completely similar, but pretty similar to The Conjuring house.
The Bells returned to family friend James Johnson for help. After retiring for the evening at the Bell home, Johnson was awakened that night by the same phenomena. That morning, he told John Bell it was a spirit just like in the Bible. Soon, word of the haunting spread, with some traveling great distances to see the witch. The apparition began to speak out loud and was asked, "Who are you and what do you want?" And the voice answered feebly, "I am a spirit. I was once very happy, but have been disturbed." The spirit offered diverse explanations of why it had appeared, tying its origin to the disturbance of a Native American burial mound located on the property, and sent Drew Bell and Bennett Porter on an unproductive search for buried treasure. With the emergence of full conversations, the spirit repeated word for word 2 sermons given 13 miles apart at the same time.
What? No, literally. So I got a lot to say when I'm finished with this paragraph, but like, I believe in spirits and all this stuff, but I don't believe that I'm gonna have a full-on conversation like me and you are.
No.
There's,
Especially one that's gonna...
he's gonna get up in there preach to me. He's like, here.
Two sermons. I'm not
the story's
buying
getting
it.
fishy. Okay, at first it was like, okay, tugging, pins, slapping, whatever, but now he's gonna repeat 2 full sermons to me. This thing I can't see.
The entity was well acquainted with biblical texts and appeared to enjoy religious arguments.
Okay, so I can understand, like, like, demons and angels would be familiar with biblical texts. Okay, so, like, certain things, yes. But over here having arguments?
Come on, Casper. As another amusement, the witch shared gossip about activities in other households and at times appeared to leave for brief moments to visit homes after an inquiry.
This entity or ghost is wild. He just sits down with, like, whoever's in the house. So, over at the Langford household, they're wild. Yeah.
Decided to leave the Amish.
Yeah, but, like, they had me.
And then they lost me. John Johnson, a son of James, devised a test for the witch, something no one outside his family would know, asking the entity what his Dutch step-grandmother in North Carolina would say to the slaves if she thought they did something wrong.
Why would the entity know that? You know what I mean? Like,
they must be tight. They must be like this for the entity to be like, yo, home dog.
This is just getting too wild. I don't even believe it anymore, but, like,
definitely the ancestors were on something.
Yeah, that's not like a question that you just ask a spirit. Like, hey, by the way, what did my grandmother in North Carolina think about slaves?
Were they smoking the natural herb back
I don't
then?
know. It's possible.
They found some wild mushrooms and they're just like...
And then they thought that they were
the Bell Witch.
Dude, I don't know.
The witch replied with his grandmother's accent, "Hut tut, what has happened now?" In another account, an Englishman stopped to visit and offered to investigate. On remarking on his family overseas, the witch suddenly began to mimic his English parents. Again, at early morning, the witch woke him to voices of his parents, worried as they had heard his voice as well. The Englishman quickly left that morning and later wrote to the Bell family that the entity had visited his family in England. So this is where we told you to think, like, that it travels long distance, like, it's over in England now, and we're just in Tennessee.
I have no words. This ghost
is
traveled
wild
all the way to England. I don't even believe it. Like,
no.
Who is believing this legend? Like, oh, dang. That's a good ghost. Like, come on.
Unless, the only way I feel like that could explain this is if part of this entity was attached to an object and the object got shipped.
Yeah, but like... But the entity is using an accent. Yeah, and like talking in someone else's voice. Like, dude...
He apologized for his skepticism. At times, the spirit displayed a form of kindness, especially towards Lucy, John Bell's wife, the most perfect woman to walk the earth. The witch would give Lucy fresh fruit and sing hymns to her, and show John Bell Jr. a measure of respect. Referring to John Bell Sr. as Old Jack, the witch claimed she intended to kill him and signaled his intention through curses, threats, and afflictions. The story climaxes with the Bell patriarch being poisoned by the witch.
I think...
Poisoned it with the fruit.
Yeah. But I think you were really nailing something when you said they were on shrooms. Or something, because...
They've been smoking that natural herb they'd be growing out in the fields.
Dude. I just... I don't have anything to say. Like, dude, I'm speechless.
I feel like we need to be on something in order to, like, understand what's happening. Afterward, the entity interrupted the mourners by singing drinking songs. In 1821, as the result of the witch's entrapment, Betsy Bell called off her engagement to Joshua Gardner. Subsequently, the entity told the family it was going to leave, but returned in 7 years in 1828. The witch returned on time to Lucy and her sons Richard and Joel with similar activities as before, but they chose not to encourage it, and the witch appeared to leave again. Several accounts say that during his military career, Andrew Jackson was intrigued with the story and his men were frightened away after traveling to investigate. In an independent oral tradition recorded in the vicinity of Panola County, Mississippi, the witch was the ghost of an unpleasant overseer, John Bell, murdered in North Carolina. In this tradition, the spirit falls in love with the central character, Mary, leading to her death.
So I think because it's saying that it's like an oral, like, tradition, so like people are Just saying.
Just
making
word
things
of
up,
mouth.
basically.
Word
yeah.
of mouth. And it's almost like, what is it that, like, that game thing, like, where you whisper something and then they gotta do it. And then by the end, it gets back to, like, the person or whatever, and they're like,
yeah, that's not what they said. Yeah.
So basically, we think this all I think it all started with one thing, and then
I
now
think it started with
like,
probably the haunting of the bells, and then it just like spiraled into this crazy ghost.
Nonsense.
Yeah.
This account is reminiscent of vampire lore. The supernatural powers attributed to the Tennessee spirit have also been compared to that of jinn in mythology. There have been several movies based, at least in part, on the Bell Witch legend. Roger Clark, former film critic for The Independent, argues the legend has also had a measurable influence on cinema, such as in the Poltergeist film series, the found footage Paranormal Activity film series, The Witch, released in 2015, the trope of burial ground disturbance in the Amityville Horror, and the apport of cherries to the children in Mama, released in 2013. None of these movies... How? How do you get what I just read and we just talked about from these movies? Like, these movies, I can't find anything to do.
Oh, so what, the ghosts aren't making fun of people and using their grandmother's accents?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't see any vampire lore in these movies.
Maybe they're talking about like the first part that we read, which I think is probably the real part of this whole story or legend, like where...
That very small part, and then we just cascaded it into this
nonsense,
BS.
chaos. After reading this, I feel dumber.
I do.
I don't know what's going on anymore.
I don't know.
These people are definitely on shrooms, and I think that the only part of this that was like
actually
legit was the first part.
Was the first part with the...
Like before they went off to England. Somehow the entity got to England.
Like just the pin poking and the pulling sheets, maybe the the scratches.
Seeing like different animals and things like that. That I believe.
That is believable, but spilling tea and having somebody tell you 2 sermons...
No. I don't buy that, even for a second. Let us know down below, like, if you like this video, like, what do you think is going on here? Like, do you think that they're correct?
Did everybody... I went to a bunch of different websites, and it's basically saying the same thing. The people on these websites just, like, pulling my chain.
I think so. So let us know down below, like, if you think that this is a legit story, what about it you think is legit? Like, if you think that it's just
tell me if you think this is off the rails.
Yeah, let us know if there's any other stories like this that you want us to cover, and we will. Hopefully they make a little more sense and are more legit. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to our video because it helps us know if you're liking our content, what you want to see more of, and all that good stuff.
Make sure you turn on the post notifications so you're notified every time we post a video, which might be like every week or might be every 2 weeks. It depends on how long the video is, because it takes a while for this one to edit and for me to sit on my ass. And also make sure you follow all our social media down in the description below.
Since it's close to Halloween, that's why we have all of our cute little decorations. We have this little guy.
There's some spiders that you might not be able to see.
Yeah, well, it's the best that we could do with limited resources. So that's why we're spooky today. Well,
this video should be going out like 2 days before Halloween. So
we wanted to do something special. We can't just not acknowledge our day. Because like I feel like that's what all of our things like revolve around. It's like spookiness and stuff.
Also, if you do follow us on social media, you'll be able to see us in our costumes. Poison Ivy and Catwoman. You'll see me in latex.
Yeah. It's gonna be dope.
With a whip.
Oh yeah. We will see you guys next Friday. Happy Halloween!